you have your registration number or matriculation number, as the case may be. Your department should be clearly stated. And of course, the name of your supervisor, Professor ABC, Dr. XYZ, and the dates that the research was conducted should be stated on your slide. Now, you can appreciate the fact that for the title, the main title of the work, it is written in a very bold, in a very large font. So it is important you highlight the topic that way, while other information can actually follow. Now, this is the concept of the icebreaker I was saying at the beginning, the impact at opening. After your title slide, you should have the impact at opening, the icebreaker slide. The Newcastle disease is estimated to cause significant economic losses amounting to 700 million naira yearly in poultry farms in Nigeria. That is an icebreaker, something that can get the audience attentive. Maybe in journalism, they call it sensational statements, sensationalism, something very, very triggering, something that will capture the attention of the audience right from the beginning of your presentation. And then you have the points. I told you this is PowerPoint presentation. So your points should be marshaled in form of points. Okay? And these are points that are that should be very, very short. And I say ideally, you shouldn't have more than 5 points on a slide at a time. Ideally, it should be 4, but not more than 5. Now you can appreciate this. You see, if you look at this particular slide, the wordings are covering everywhere. And what is the problem with this slide is that margin is not left, and you can see the bullet even touching even the line. So this is actually wrong. You can see the mark there. This is actually a wrong way to create your slide. Now look at this. This is a very good one. You can see enough margin to the left, enough margin to the right. And you can see the PowerPoint, the points clearly outlined. You can pick on phagocytosis and begin to discuss. At a glance on your slide, you pick up the next point and you discuss. You don't begin to read. I said this at the beginning that it is wrong to read to your audience during PowerPoint presentation. You can pick up active phase protein and begin to discuss what active phase protein itself is. But this will depend largely on the level of your preparation or your preparedness even for your presentation. Now look at this slide now. You see this talks about the contrast. I told you must avoid certain color. You can see the fourth line on this slide. The contrast is so poor. Putting a light green color on a white background will not be readable. So you can see cancelled out. The green is also on white background, that is out. While you can have white on a black background, you can have yellow on the black background, and on and on. So color contrast is very, very important. Otherwise, your presentation, at the beginning of your presentation, when your audience realize that they could not even read what you have actually designed or the slide you have created, many are completely tuned off, which is not what you actually desire. So the next is the use of bullet points. Bullet point is very, very important. You can see this is more of a jumped up notes being put in form of a point. This kind of slides makes it difficult even for the audience to follow, number one. Number two, it will also force the presenter to be reading from the slide, which is against the norm in PowerPoint presentation. But if you look at the next slide, you can see how the points are being captured. You can see the point being summarized like the other slide I showed you. If I show you the previous slide, you see how clumsy it is. If you see this one, you see how well outlined it is. In fact, the word alone may stand as a point. If you understand what phagocytosis is, you may not necessarily need the statement under that word phagocytosis for you to explain. You understand what it
Yeah,
means
it
and
is to
explain
connect
it
your
in
phones
human
then.
terms. That
Did you do it?
is where we started when I
First
told
charger,
you
you
that
don't know
if you
that I
cannot
put it off
explain
that
it
laptop.
simply
Every
enough,
time I have
it
cables,
is well because you don't understand it well enough.
take it and
So you
plug
can
it.
see the
If you have
use of
plugged it,
visual and images. Visual and
you don't
images
take
can
anything.
also be very, very good for illustration during presentation. And you see the flow, the arrow flow. This is an image of tissue sectioning, and the creator of the slide is actually trying to show us the flow, the process involved, or the procedure involved in your tissue sectioning. Okay, and again you have your charts. The charts were clearly outlined. You don't put too many charts on a slide at the same time. Many a times it makes your work mobbed up. You can have just one chart or one figure on a slide at a time. And then I talked about the font size, which is should be ideally 24. Of course, something like 20 is still manageable. Okay, but ideally if you have 24 points font size, it is perfect. You can even have it as high as 40 to make whatever you are presenting more visible. Now this is a cumbersome data. You avoid a clumsy data like this. You see, if you look at this slide, this individual intend to talk about the result he obtained over some period of time, maybe weeks, against the group. Now, it's not in every situation whereby, that you have to present all this information. If where you had significant changes or you want the audience to take note of is just in group 1 and group 9, why not remove other groups and just project group 1 and group 9? You can just leave dot 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 in between them to show that there are some other groups, but the result we obtain from them are not very significant. So this is very, very important when you do your slide creation. You don't have to put all the information at the same time on the screen. And it's also important that those changes or those significant differences that you want to point out should be highlighted. It's either you highlight them by putting superscript, or you want to highlight them by even changing the color, so that at a glance your audience can actually can actually pick the differences in what you are presenting. This is the kind of crowded slide, like I earlier told you, which is not correct. Now you can see it's also important to compare images of similar magnification. You see, the magnification of this is the same thing as this, the magnification of this is the same thing as this. You don't compare images of different magnification. That will be wrong in PowerPoint slide creation. See, these are images of different sizes, different magnification, and it is wrong to compare such images. Okay, now the criteria usually for scoring an academic presentation is as shown on the screen. Suitability of your title, suitability of your introduction. How were you able to clearly justify the work? Okay, the objective of the study. Did you use proper design and methodology? Did you use the appropriate statistical analysis? Now, there are some area of your presentation that you may need to consult the relevant experts. You may not necessarily know everything. If you are to present your research work and there are some area you need to analyze, you need to seek the help of an expert in telling you the best way to analyze your samples, the clarity of the result, how were you able to present it, and your ability to interpret and discuss the results, okay? And how well were your objectives accomplished? You see, usually when we start a project, we set out to accomplish certain objectives. We have the main objective, we have the specific objective, at the end of the day, your objective must be accomplished. If they are not accomplished, the work is not done. So again, adequate answer to comments. People are going to ask you comment. The audience will ask questions. Rather, it is important to be able to answer those questions. You are going to be graded based on your ability to answer those questions. Contribution to the existing knowledge, proper use of allotted time, your comportment, your debility, your appearance. Okay, these are very, very important. The clarity and the good use of your PowerPoint, which is the whole essence of what we are discussing. Your PowerPoint can make a difference between you and another person that probably has some very, very important work. If your PowerPoint is well created, you can score higher points. So that is how we do it. Thank you very much for
Hello. Yes. Thanks for listening. I think it is time for feedback. I want to give room for questions, comments, and contribution. We can do that within the next, say, in less than 10 minutes so that we can proceed to the second phase. Dr. Sandra. Dr. Sandra? Okay, so please.
Hello, Doc.
Yes. I say it's time.
It was a great presentation. I learned so many things.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Please, if you have questions, you can. Do you want people to ask or to post it?
So whichever way,
on the chat.
any way that is convenient. I will read the chat messages they are sent.
Okay,
so
please.
We can put up our hands if we want to ask questions.
Yeah, that table you were showing us. Hello, Doc.
Yes, I'm with you, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am. I'm with you.
Hello, Doc.
It's like our network is a little bit bad. Any other person?
Can you hear me?
I think the network of Dr. Sandra is a little bit poor.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, but your network is a little bit poor. So, any question? The floor is still open. Dr. Sandra.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Your network was quite poor.
Okay, but it's better now.
Yes, it's better. So I can see a question on the chat box.
Okay, I said that table you showed, you called it a cumbersome data.
Yes.
I didn't quite get the way you said we can do. You said we should just choose the two that have significant that were significantly different. Okay. So what happens to the other ones? Because when you are presenting, they will insist that you show everything.
Well, it all depends. Like
this one. Yeah.
it is possible. You see, the way we look at things sometimes is bound, it may be likely different. But ideally, if something is not quite relevant to the presentation, you can downplay on it. Standard practice allows you to downplay on that and highlight the very important ones. For instance, look at these groups now. If you look at those grouping now, we have 1 to 13 groups. Now imagine if you have 1 to 200 groups. Imagine if you have 1 to 200 groups. What do? Do you put up a slide of 1 to 200 groups? It's going to be a lot of slides. And at the end of the day, the audience will get disconnected when you start running through all the slides. So essentially, the very important one, more importantly, when you have so much data, when you have a very vast data, you can always tell the audience, even if somebody objects and say, why did you present everything? Now, make it easy. I think sometimes in presentation, the most important thing is you being able to defend what you have done. Somebody will ask you, why are you speaking in, can they ask you, why are you speaking to us in English? I think it's as interesting as that. You just, well, that's the language. Somebody may ask you an obvious question. All he wanted to know is to what extent can you defend that decision, that choice, that approach, that procedure that you have actually used. So if you have so much data, instead of you presenting a cumbersome one that people cannot read, it is good you select the very important one and highlight them. I hope I attended your question, ma'am.
Yeah, you did, but I would have loved if you have shown us an example.
Like this one on the screen now. Let's assume we have
an example of the ideal one.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe if you have time later,
no
it doesn't have to be today.
It's okay. It's okay.
If you can do this same table, you present it in the ID form and put it on our WhatsApp group for us to see, please.
That's okay. That's
Thank you.
All right. So someone is actually asking on the chat box that how do you activate the on-screen laser pointer? Yes, what you do is that after you have put up your PowerPoint slides, the next thing to do is to click on the slideshow. You must click on slideshow first. I'm still going to explain that in the second phase. When you click on slideshow and your slide is already on the slideshow mode, that is when you right-click on the screen. You can see my cursor moving on the screen. If you right-click on this screen, you will see there's a menu that will come out. On that menu, you will see pointer option. Then you can pick a laser pointer. I hope you can see my laser pointer. Yeah, you can pick a laser pointer and then use that to explain. And of course, still on that same place, if you right-click on the screen again, that laser pointer will disappear because the system assumes you want to do something else. So you can go back there. Instead of picking a laser pointer, you can pick a pen. If you pick a pen, you can use that pen to illustrate on the screen. Like, see what I'm doing now? I'm cycling a number of things. I want to believe you can see my screen. I just circle that. Just circle that. Aha. So you can use that to illustrate. It's part of something, but this is more of you want to do more modification to your slide. But of course, by the time you are done presenting, the system will ask you if you want to save all these illustrations, all these scribbling you have just done. You can decide to discard it or to retain it. If you retain it, your PowerPoint has been permanently adjusted. Please, let's take note of that. If I decide to say, okay, retain. For instance, now, if I decide to end this slideshow, the moment I attempt ending this slideshow, the message will pop up that should it retain or discard? If I don't want a permanent touch on my slide, I will tell you to discard, and that will be it. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So I can see another question. Somebody said entering the presentation with a purchase statement before the introduction. Please, can you give example? Yes, an example has already been given. If you follow the slides, let me move the slides backwards. If you follow the slide, the icebreaker, you see, this is an example of an icebreaker. Okay? The icebreaker is intended to give an opening speech, a kind of opening statement, rather, an opening statement that will help to captivate the audience. You see, it's just like trying to look at the best way to take off. Somebody says a pilot is defined. I mean, the quality of a pilot is defined by his takeoff skill and his landing skill. His takeoff skill and his landing skill. So this is like a takeoff of your presentation. If I came up to present maybe an event that happened maybe at a particular location, and I started by saying that it was an innocent morning. Everything was quiet as if nothing will happen until all of a sudden, you know, just like a storytelling. Most wonderful novelists, if you start reading their novel, you will see the first statement they will make will so much captivate you that you will not drop that novel until you finish reading it. So the same thing applies to presentation. When you want to present, have an opening statement that disease surveillance is perhaps the most important thing in the world. It's like a fight against the invading infectious disease. You are trying to make a statement at your opening before you start giving your introduction and all that. You must start with a high tone. And the same way, it's not just opening impact at opening alone that is important. There should also be an impact at closing. It means when you finish that presentation, there should be a concluding statement. A concluding statement that will help the audience to have a picture of the summary of the entire presentation you have just made. I hope that has helped a little bit. Any other question, please? Any other question? Okay. If there are no more questions, I think we can proceed. Dr. Sandra, can we proceed?
Yes, I think we should proceed, please.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to begin to demonstrate in practical terms, how do you begin to create a slide? Okay, I know this is something most of us have been doing, and this will be more of guiding us into some of what we have done before, and also taking us further beyond what we have been used to, and also helping us to garner some skill tips on how to create those slides and how those slides will actually add up. So I'm going to share my entire screen again, and then I'm going to share my entire screen. So you can see the pop-up something I talked about. I discarded it. I close my slides. Okay, I'm going to share my slide again. Okay, I'll be sharing my entire window now. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so I'm sharing my entire screen. So that's my PowerPoint, that's my WhatsApp. I'm minimizing all the windows. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. Can we all see the screen? I want to be able to all see my screen.
Yes, sir.
So you
Yes,
launch
sir.
the PowerPoint.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so I'm launching the PowerPoint slide now. Normally, when you launch the PowerPoint slide, it takes you to the back end. The back end interface, that is what will automatically open for you. And the reason being that I'm using this PowerPoint slide for the first time. So if you have just installed the PowerPoint slide, it will open the back end interface for you. On the back end interface, you have a blank presentation and you have different templates you can choose from, depending on the kind of presentation you want to go into. We call it templates, or what I'm moving the cursor through are called templates. Or you can even choose more. There are several templates that comes with the application itself from which you can choose from. So it helps to make your presentation or your slides to look very much professional. Okay. So let's just go with the blank. Let's say I want to stick to blank one. So I'm clicking on the blank, and then we have the PowerPoint open for me. Okay. Now, please let's take note. The moment the canvas of the PowerPoint is open, what you are going to see on the top. Let me bring this control panel down. What you have on the top, all these top I'm toggling in between are called tabs. They are called tabs. Okay? And when you click a tab, you have access to the associated ribbons. Ribbons, as in, when I say ribbons, I mean ribbon is RIBBON. So you have the associated ribbon. So these are tabs, while you also have the associated ribbons. So if I go to the Insert tab, I have associated ribbon under it. If I go to Design tab, these are the associated ribbons. The Transition tab, the associated ribbon. Now, if you come to the Insert tab, now under each tab, you have what we call groups. We have grouping of tools under the ribbons. You can see this group now. This is the group of slides. This is the slide group. We call it slide group. And here we have the table group. Okay? We have the image group. And then you have the illustration group, the icon group. I hope you can see it. And you have the link group. You have the comment group, the text group, just like that. So we can appreciate that for each tab, you have different, you have the associated within, and you have different grouping. Okay, so what we are going to quickly look at, I think we are going to go, I want us to go systematically so that we can appreciate how to actually work with the application itself. Now, this is the layout you are going to see. The layout you are going to see normally again when you open your PowerPoint slide. Now, the first slide by your right-hand side, that is usually your title slide, what you have here. That's the active slide, that's your title slide, okay? And we refer to it at this place as thumbnail. We call it thumbnail here. It's described as thumbnail here. While the bigger form of it is active for editing here, okay? So, when you look at this home tab, there's an arrow. You look at the clipboard group, there's an arrow here. I believe you can all see this arrow. You see, the application is designed in such a way that the tools that are meant to be grouped under a particular grouping may be so much that it cannot contain the space available. So what will be done is that we are going to now have what we call dialogue launcher. This arrow is described as dialogue.
With another somebody. That is just.
I think I need to mute somebody.
Yes.
Sorry. So you can see the dialogue launcher, or you call it just launch button. This is the dialogue launcher. When you click on the dialogue launcher, it will open to you. It will give you access to additional information on that. Okay? I'm clicking on it. It's going to give me additional information or input I can do under that. The same thing, if you come under font, you click on it, you can see the dialog box has just opened, where you can do a couple of things: character spacing, font, and all that. So that is just the general layout. Okay? The general layout. Now, another thing we need to also get familiar with here is some other tools that are on the top of our tabs. This place I'm moving my cursor through. This is the search button. This is the search button. Here you can search for different things, provided your system is connected online. Let's assume my interest is to search for something related to maybe countries of the world. Let me see if I can maneuver my laptop. Countries of the world. You can type something here that will guide you. Countries. So depending on the license you have for your application, you can do that search I just done. And provided your system is connected to the internet. Okay? To the top right corner, you have your close button, you have your minimize and other functions too that we should get familiar with. Now, to the top right corner, you have the save button. Now, please, let's take note. This save button, it is often applicable or often in use when you have started working on a document, and this is a document you have already saved in your system, but you want to make some modification to that particular document. If you click on it, that's like you call it a quick save button. Quick save. For some people that are using systems with a very poor battery, you don't want to lose what you have done or the editing you have done or modification you have done in case there's a power outage. So this is the quick save button where you can click on. But of course, if that document was not already saved on your system, you are doing it for the first time, just like this one we are working on, you have to first of all save it through the file link, through the back end link. So you have the quick save button, you have the undo, you have the do button, and also you have the slideshow button here. Okay. So another thing again I want us to talk about are the buttons down here, the functional buttons that we have down here. Okay, you have your slideshow button. Usually when you do presentation online, many a times people, after they have already projected their slide, they forget to click this slideshow. It's not going to give you the maximum view of your slides. Your audience are not supposed to be seeing your thumbnail, this thumbnail. They're not supposed to be seeing this thumbnail when you are presenting. If you click on this particular slideshow, it will maximize the thing. That thumbnail should be gone when you begin to present. Very, very important. Okay? So you have the slideshow button. The next to it is the reading view, and the next to it is the slide sorter. The slide sorter is important when you want to rearrange your slides. Let's assume I've worked on my slides, I've got a number, I've almost finished up, and I want to rearrange. Maybe I want to bring let's say I open another slide now. I want to bring The second slide, I want to bring it up just to sort the slides. So the slide sorter, when you click the slide sorter, it gives you the overview of all the slides. The overview of all the slides. You can now sort. You can bring this to the front, you can take this to the front, you can take this to the back, you can adjust, arrange, and you can of course do this even in the normal view mode. This is the normal view mode. These are the view buttons. These buttons have been toggling with at the bottom right here. They are what we call the view buttons. You can also do the same thing here. You can move it. You just hold on to it and drag. Hold on, drag and drop. Hold on, drag and drop. Okay. So that is in terms of the general layout. Okay. Now there's another thing here. Still beside, I hope you can hear me. Can we all hear? Are we following me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. So down on at the view button section, you see where you have something called notes. If you click on notes, you see you can comment, you can drop a comment on a slide. If you recall, during that presentation, that short presentation, I made a point that PowerPoint presentation is supposed to be a concise, or call it a summary of the actual presentation, a concise articulation of the entire work itself. I'm sure after finishing master degree or PhD program, by the time you bind your project work, you'll be talking of almost 1,000 pages. Now, how do you put an idea that is almost 1,000 pages in about 10 slides, in about 20 slides? So it simply means that each slide will be a compression. Each slide will be a concise statement, a key word, a key phrase that helps you to describe or to explain that particular entire work. So instead of putting, I mentioned at a point that you don't copy your Word document and paste on the slide. Some people will go copy a Word document and paste it on the slide. And when they get to the point of presentation, they start struggling with it because they will be forced to read it from the slide. Now, instead of doing that, what you do is that you can make use of this notes view button. When you click on it, you can put additional information. Just see the way I'm typing it. Additional information. I can put additional information here. Now, this additional information or notes is only for the presenter. It will not be visible when you are presenting, or it will be visible to you, the presenter, but the audience will not see it. So, if you have an additional information that you feel will guide you, instead of putting everything on the slide, put them on the notes viewer button, such that you can at least minimize the tendency of having a clumsy screen. Okay, a clumsy screen. Now we have talked about templates. Templates again. If I come back to the file menu, I click on the file menu. It brings me to the back end of the document. This is the back end of the document where a lot of settings are done. It's just like the foundational section of the document itself. Okay. Again, I mentioned that you could have several types of templates, or you call it theme. You can search online even for additional templates, beautiful templates, depending on the application you are using. Okay. Now, if you go back, normally when you are at this place, you have your new, you have your open, you have your info, you have your save and save as. Save as is what you use when